Greetings, dear viewers. I am Zaid,
and I truly hope
you are all in good health, peace of mind, and positive spirit today. Our journey in this episode takes us back into the world of one of the most fascinating, yet often less discussed powers of the ancient Near East, the Parthian Empire. The Parthians ruled for nearly 5 centuries, from around 247 BCE until 224 CE,
and they stood as one of the greatest rivals
to the mighty Roman Empire. What makes their story unique is not only their military strength, but also their ability to blend different cultural traditions, Persian, Hellenistic, and even nomadic Central Asian roots into one long-lasting civilization. The origins of the Parthian
are truly remarkable.
They were not born as a massive empire, but began as a small tribe, known as the Parni, part of a larger group
of nomadic people called
the Dahai Confederation, who roamed the steppes, north of modern-day Iran and Turkmenistan. According to historical accounts, the Parni migrated southward, seizing opportunities, when the Seleucid Empire, the successor state, founded after Alexander the Great, was struggling with internal divisions. In around 247 BCE, a Parni leader named Arsaces took control of the region of Parthia, located in northeastern Iran today. This event marks the birth of the Parthian Dynasty that historians call the Arsacid Dynasty. What started as a frontier rebellion
against the weakened Seleucids
slowly transformed into an empire-building mission. Over generations, the Arsacid rulers expanded westward, absorbing territories that were once firmly held by the Greeks of the Seleucid kingdom. By the 1st century BCE, the Parthians controlled a vast domain stretching from the Euphrates River in Mesopotamia to the borders of India in the east. What gave them strength was not only expansion by conquest, but also their flexible system of rule. They maintained a loose federation of semi-independent kings, nobles,
and local dynasties, rather than forcing everyone
into a single central government. This approach allowed different cultures and peoples to keep their traditions while recognizing the authority of the Parthian King of Kings. Before we move to our today,
I want to say that
this channel is user-friendly, no offensive content,
no misinformation.
We explain things with respect, curiosity, and authenticity.
One of the greatest strengths
of the Parthian Empire
was its military system.
Unlike the heavy, disciplined legions of Rome, the Parthians relied on mobility,
speed,
and highly skilled cavalry. Their most famous warriors were the horse archers. These fighters could ride at full speed, turn their bodies completely, and shoot arrows backward with astonishing accuracy. This deadly technique became so legendary that it is still remembered today as the Parthian shot. But the Parthian army was not limited to horse archers. They also fielded powerful
cataphracts,
heavily armored cavalry, covered in scale armor, with both rider and horse, protected in iron or bronze plating. This combination of light, swift horse archers
and crushing heavy cavalry
made the Parthians
a nightmare for their enemies.
The best demonstration of this strategy came in the Battle of Carrhae in 53 BCE. The Roman general Crassus,
one of the richest men of Rome,
and a member of the famous First Triumvirate, along with Julius Caesar and Pompey, marched deep into Parthian territory with an army of about 40,000 men. The Parthians, under the brilliant commander Surena, faced them with only about 10,000 cavalry, yet using the tactic of constant hit-and-run attacks, feigned retreats, and endless arrow showers, the Parthians completely destroyed the Roman force. Crassus himself was killed,
and the Romans lost their standards,
a humiliation that shook Rome deeply. This battle was not only a military triumph, but it also signaled to the world that the Parthians were not a minor eastern kingdom. They were a superpower, capable of halting Rome's ambitions
Another fascinating strength
was their control over trade routes. The Parthians sat right in the middle of the ancient Silk Road, the massive network of commerce that connected China, India, the Middle East,
and the Roman world.
Caravans carrying silk, spices, gems, and other luxury goods would pass through Parthian lands. Instead of letting Rome and China deal directly, the Parthians acted as middlemen, earning enormous wealth by taxing and protecting the routes. This economic position gave them influence far beyond the battlefield. At the same time, their empire was not just about war or trade. They were also protectors of culture. Greek influence from the Seleucids was still strong in their early days. Cities like Ctesiphon and Seleucia were great centers of Hellenistic art, philosophy, and architecture. Yet over time, the Parthians revived many elements of Persian tradition, from royal ceremonies to religious practices. They saw themselves
as heirs to the Achaemenid Persian kings,
and this helped unite their diverse populations under a shared identity. The Parthian court became known for its splendor. Banquets, diplomacy, and grand ceremonies displayed wealth and power in ways that impressed both allies
and enemies alike.
As centuries passed, the Parthian Empire grew into a complex and multi-layered state. One of the most unique aspects
of their governance
was the balance of power between the central king of kings and the regional noble families. The Arsacid monarch was the symbolic head of the empire, but much of the day-to-day rule depended on noble houses who controlled vast estates, armies,
and local populations.
This system had advantages. It allowed flexibility, local autonomy,
and reduced the chance of uprisings from people
who were forced into foreign systems. However, it also created
constant internal rivalries.
Power struggles between noble families and the royal court
often weakened the empire
during times of external threat. Religion also played a fascinating role in Parthian society. The empire was religiously diverse. Zoroastrianism, the ancient Persian faith, was widespread, but alongside it, Hellenistic cults, Mesopotamian traditions,
and even early Jewish
and Christian communities existed in Parthian lands. This tolerance was one of the keys to the empire's stability. At the same time, the Parthians maintained a delicate foreign policy. They were in constant interaction with both Rome in the west
and nomadic powers in the east.
Treaties, marriages, and shifting alliances were as important
as military victories.
One dramatic example was during the reign of Phraates IV. Rome, under Emperor Augustus, demanded the return of the standards
lost at Carrhae.
Instead of another devastating war, Phraates agreed through diplomacy, restoring the captured standards in 20 BC. This deal was celebrated in Rome as a major triumph, but it also showed the Parthians' skillful ability to use diplomacy as a weapon. The Parthians also played a crucial role in shaping the cultural exchanges
of the Silk Road.
They were not just middlemen for goods, but also for ideas. Art, architecture,
and religious beliefs flowed through their territory.
In art, the Parthians are credited with developing a new style of portraiture. Unlike the Greek tradition, which favored three-quarter views, Parthian art introduced the concept of frontal representation, figures shown directly facing the viewer. This artistic style would later influence Byzantine and even medieval European art. Architecture also flourished. Their capitals, especially Ctesiphon, featured grand palaces, with the most famous being the Takhtasra Arch. This immense vaulted hall, built of brick,
remains one of the largest
unreinforced brick structures in the world,
a true testament
to their engineering skill. By the 2nd century CE, However, the empire began to show cracks. Internal conflicts between noble houses, rebellions in provinces, and repeated wars with Rome drained resources. At times, Roman emperors, like Trajan and later Septimius Severus, invaded Parthian land, capturing cities such as Ctesiphon. Although the Parthians
often regained their territories,
these wars revealed the fragility of their unity. By the early 3rd century CE, the Parthian Empire, though still vast, was weakened by decades of conflict. The repeated wars with Rome took a heavy toll, but the deeper issue was internal division. The noble houses, who once provided stability,
often competed for power
and supported rival claimants to the throne. This instability created an opening for a rising new force in Persia, the Sasanian dynasty, founded by Ardashir Parni, a local ruler of Persis. In southern Iran, the Sasanians launched a powerful rebellion against the Arsacids. In 224 C, Ardashir defeated the last Parthian king, Artabanus at the Battle of Hormozgan. With this, the Parthian Empire came to an end, replaced by the Sasanian Empire, which would go on to rule for over 4 centuries, becoming one of Rome's greatest rivals. Yet the Parthians should never be seen as a forgotten transition. They shaped the foundations of later Persian identity, revived many ancient traditions, and maintained a bridge between East and West during a period when empires rose and collapsed
around them.
Their military tactics, like the Parthian shot,
remain legendary.
Their cultural innovations, like frontal portraiture and monumental brick architecture, left a lasting artistic legacy. And their strategic control of the Silk Road ensured the global exchange of ideas
and goods continued
through their lands.
Even Rome,
with all its power,
learned to respect
the resilience of Parthia. Unlike many kingdoms that Rome absorbed, the Parthians stood firm for nearly 500 years. Their story is not just one of battles and kings, but also of diplomacy, cultural exchange,
and the survival of a unique identity
amid the clash of civilizations. All the information we provide comes from verified historical sources, including books, records, and archaeology. Sources used for this episode include the Parthian Empire, Encyclopedia Iranica, iranicaonline.org, The History of the Parthians, Cambridge, Ancient History, Volume 9, Richard Fry, The Heritage of Persia, 2004 edition. Josef Wieserhofer, Ancient Persia, from 550 BC to 650 AD, Archaeological Studies on Ctesiphon and the Takhasra Arch. Records from Roman historians such as Plutarch, Cassius Dio, and Tacitus. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed this deep journey into the forgotten empire of Parthia, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Thrones of Knowledge. Do not forget to press the bell icon so you are notified on time for our future explorations. And in the comments section, tell us what topic you would like us to explore next, so we can make this experience
even better together.